Hi, welcome to Southside Views. My name is Mary McCloy-Vono, and I'll be your hostess for today's show. I'm glad you're all joining us today, and I just want to give you a couple of seconds about what we are. Community Connections is a group that meets in South Framingham and works specifically with an area of South Framingham east of Route 126 and south of Route 135. It's a small little neighborhood. Actually, it's a large neighborhood, but there's a lot of people in there. It's a very diverse group of folks, and we're always kind of in there trying to get neighbors out meeting neighbors. So I'm going to encourage people to come to our next meeting, which I'll do at the end of today's broadcast. I'll give you some more information. So if you have a pen and paper close by, I would recommend that you get it, because we will be giving out some information about today's guests. With that, today's guests are from the Framingham Community Charter School in Framingham. We have Mr. Robert Burrows, who's the 8th grade teacher, as well as the Dean of Humanities at the charter school. And also we have a couple of students from the school, which I'm very excited that you guys are on the, well, young lady and young man are on the show. Mike Blanchard,
yeah,
and Melissa Chaws. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Welcome to today's show.
Thank you.
I know everybody, we're all feeling a little nervous, but it's really good to have you here, and it's good to kind of get some information, I think, out to the public about the school and what the school's all about. So welcome.
Thank you, and we appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Why don't I start with you, Robert? What made you want to kind of teach in a charter school versus maybe a regular school, or
Right.
not versus, but you know what I'm saying? What was the draw to the charter school?
This is my 16th year in education, and I worked before back in New York City, where I was born and raised, at a small middle school serving kids with special needs, and then had worked for 6 years at a public high school in Vermont, where I earned my master's degree and worked part-time on the college level. When I had discovered this particular school, I had researched a little bit about what they were designing for the school, and realized that it connected a lot with my own personal philosophy, as well as what I had seen in the research saying that this is what makes an effective school. Mm-hmm. It's a school that is small, serving about 300 students. We've got teachers working in teams. We've got an extraordinary principal who not only is the one who created the school, but was voted a Distinguished Educator of the Year. Mm-hmm. And in thinking about how that he wanted to create the school, I figured this was the right place to be.
Mm-hmm. So that's good. So it was really kind of the way that the curriculum, or the way that the whole
Right.
school kind of works together as a team.
Exactly.
That was a big piece of it. How about you, Mike? Why would you choose the charter school?
Well, I like hands-on learning. I don't like doing lots of busy work and tests and stuff. And when I heard that the charter school was more like projects and, not so much just reading out of a textbook or copying down notes, I heard it and liked it, so I, put my name in and I got it.
And how about you, Melissa?
I went to the charter school because it was very different from public schools. As Michael said, you do more hands-on learning
Mm-hmm.
work, and other schools they only have textbooks, but here we all do it in a group, and all the work we've done from the beginning reflects on the end.
Yeah.
So at the end you have a big project.
It all matters. It's not just, you do this busy work and then go on to the next bit of busy work. Everything ties into something else.
In many schools, the work that students do and are assessed on ends up in the trash can because it has little value for the students and is not something that they're doing that makes a difference for the community. Here we ask the kids to develop projects that are personally meaningful and do make a difference for the community.
Or go back and expand on something we tried earlier and liked.
Okay. So what kind of classes do kids take at the charter school? Is it regular classes, or do you take...
The students take all the regular courses that students would take anywhere else, but one of the things they do beyond the 4 core classes, math, science, English, and social studies, is that they take courses in peace studies, mm-hmm. Project Adventure. They also take wellness classes, but the core classes are really at the center of their experiences. And these courses are taught by teachers who are working together in teams. The teams are made up of 2 teachers. Each team has 34 students, and the classes tend to be about 17 students per class. And the teachers have a lot of flexibility with how they could organize the time for the work that they're asking kids to do. In most schools, if you want to do a lab, you can only do it on a certain day, or you have to make special arrangements to do that because it might take 2 hours for the students to have their lab. In our school, we could do that with a snap of a finger. The teachers who are working together on the team can make the adjustment in the schedule and do that. So we're trying to be very flexible in a way that suits the needs of the students for the work that they are being asked to do. In most schools, time is structured in a way that drives the learning. Here we're organizing time in a way that supports the learning.
And if if there isn't enough time at the time of the assignment, there's lots of time otherwise that the teachers allow for you to do it. Like if you are behind in a project in another class, the teachers, if you're doing all right in their class, they'll let you work on this project. It's very flexible.
Now, and the way these courses are designed, they're all helping to support the students' inquiries. Our classes are project-based, as Michael and Melissa had said, and we want the students to answer these big open-ended questions. And to answer the questions, they have to take what they're learning from all the different subjects and try to develop their answers.
Yeah.
Okay, so would an example be maybe at the beginning of the year, everybody has to kind of come up with a
guiding
proposal
question.
or a,
Right.
This year, in me and Melissa's team, our guiding question is, what am I?
okay.
In science, that's pertaining to the human body for now. Like, what are we made of? What chemicals? How do the bodily systems work? Whereas in humanities, which is social studies and language arts, it's more like, how do people identify with themselves? Like, what types of people do what things? And we're also studying medieval Europe because there were lots of different classes of people. Like the rich wore expensive clothes and had big houses, whereas the poor weren't necessarily, the middle class weren't exactly rich and lived in enormous manors, but they weren't like really poor and didn't live in like.
Right, they weren't kind of living in the
Yeah.
street with their
Yeah.
hay over their head
Yeah.
trying to keep their.
Yep.
And then the students will also be exploring this issue of identity through literature. They'll read classic works of literature like Lord of the Flies, Flowers for Algernon, a play by Shakespeare. As much as we do project-based approaches, we also still retain a classical curriculum where the students are reading some high-quality works of literature. So last year, when both of them were on my team, they read the Epic of Gilgamesh, they read Beowulf, they read Treasure Island. I had the pleasure of working with both of them for more than 1 year. I had them on my team, and it's been a great opportunity to work with students for an extended period of time. But when the school first started, one of the initial projects we had done with the 6th graders was looking at the quality of water in the school. The water had some residue that we were puzzled by, and we felt was affecting the quality of the water. And then the students decided to try to develop a way that would improve the water system at the school. And they had done a lot of the research looking at what would be best for us to fix the water fountains in the school or to continue to purchase water and have it delivered.
And it all culminated, and we had a big presentation in front of the Board of Trustees, and apparently it was so convincing that the same day they gave the order for us to get new water bubblers.
Right.
And they're really good. It's not, the water's a lot better, it tastes better, it's cooler, it's less expensive.
So the students also, not only do they kind of pick a theme, but then they do these projects throughout the year, but then there's this big end result that,
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not every year may not have as a big impact, but the goal would be to always really feel that impact
And
all the way.
Everything matters.
And one of the things about the project that they had done that year is that it resulted in a projected savings of $22,000 for the school, because if we had continued to purchase water and have it delivered and buy cups and stuff like that, by the time we were fully open with grades 6, 7, and 8 and in operation for the length of our lease for the building, it would have cost us about $25,000, whereas we spent $3,000 to fix the fountains. It would save us that much more money, and taxpayers as well.
Wow, so good job.
Yeah.
So you're really getting the kids are really kind of thinking outside the box.
Yep.
Now, Melissa, you've been there since a 6th grader?
Yeah.
So are you one of the first groups of kids that are going to go through the whole 3 years?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's been really, the school, these 2 years and this year have been good. I've been learning a lot, and it's been a lot of fun.
What's your favorite thing that you've done in your, the 2 years plus a few months?
Last year in 7th grade, we did, we were going to do this adventure course, and we built it. We chose what we're going to do, and we spread into little groups. They each had a job to do, and so at the end we had like a little mini adventure course, and that was fun.
So that would have been part of your team?
Yeah.
Okay. Do the teams change every year? Or
They
do.
do.
The kids?
Often students can request what teacher they want to be, and we try to accommodate those requests as best as possible while still maintaining the balance on the teams, because we have all types of students at our school.
Right. Now I know that there's some misconceptions out there that, I mean, anybody can go to the charter school. It's not only for kids who have problems or, all these are kind of in quotes kind of things.
Right.
So, I mean, anybody can go to the charter school.
The school is a public school in the same sense as other public schools, except that students have to apply to be enrolled. A priority is given to students from Framingham because we are the Framingham Community Charter School, but we currently get students from about 12 different towns. Okay. And the process is quite simple. You fill out a form, you submit it, and if we have more students applying than the number of seats that we have available, we hold a lottery. And that lottery is done publicly in front of a crowd, and we pull the numbers and names out, and then those students are allowed to attend the school. And they could stay, for all 3 years. You do not have to reapply every year, and there is absolutely no tuition.
So once they're in, they're in.
Right.
And then if they wanted to leave, but that would be another thing, but for the most part, they don't have to apply every year or anything like that. Okay.
And if you're coming into 6th grade, and you can apply if you're going into 7th or 8th grade. We've had new students in 7th grade and 8th grade that were never here before, but they just came in.
That's a good point, because then you can't just come in as a 6th grader. You can come in
any
of
of
those
the grades.
3 years.
At any point in the year.
Okay. So it's kind of a rolling admission in a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Should kids in 5th grade now be looking at it, or when would a parent start looking at the charter school for 6th grade?
If I were a parent of a 5th grader, I would be looking right now and making arrangements to visit the school. We provide opportunities for parents to take tours, to meet with the administration. They can meet with me. They can meet with teachers. They could talk with students to find out what it's like. They could have their child spend a day at our school to see what it's like firsthand, so that the child can tell whether or not that this is the best place for them.
Okay. Back to kind of the coursework and the classes, do the kids still have to take the MCAS?
Our students do take the MCAS.
Yes, we do.
They take the MCAS in 6th grade, like all students in the state of Massachusetts. And in 7th grade last year, both Michael and Melissa had taken the MCAS in English. We did very well on the MCAS. We had 98% of the students pass the 7th grade language arts MCAS exam, and only 2% of the students, which really was 2 students, did not pass it. We're working with those 2 students. We are committed to helping all students meet the standards. We also had a significant number of students who are special ed that passed the exam. Over 90% of our students who have special needs passed the exam, and yet our school has all types of students. They also take another type of standardized exam, which is called the Terra Nova exam, a norm reference exam that's given around the country. And based on that exam, we have about 25% of our current 8th graders who are eligible for the Johns Hopkins Gifted and Talented Search Program. And that means that they've scored on the 97th percentile or higher on reading or math.
Wow, that's impressive. It's very impressive.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember about the school, and I'll let you two talk about it a little bit, when I went over one day, and I think I had a tour of a couple of classrooms, and I noticed the classrooms are set up a little bit differently. At least some of them are set up a little bit differently than classrooms in other schools that I've been in. Do you know what I'm talking about?
How do you mean differently, like in terms of actual setup, or as far as
actual setup, like with the desks are all in a row, and does that happen in all the classrooms over
Well, there's no real norm for how your desks are set up or where you sit, unless the class is being particularly rowdy or out of control. Then the teacher might assign seats for some people or the entire class. But for the most part, it's just really the desks are kind of set up how they are, or they'll be set up in a certain way most of the time, but sometimes it'll change just for fun.
I just saw some couches and stuff like that in some of the classrooms.
Yeah, those were, I guess,
Crib.
donated to the school, and
Right.
just
Like
kinda-
sometimes kids can sit in those, right?
Yeah, if there's free time or
Yeah.
there's no other seats or.
So a student might be sitting on the couch reading one of the books that they're doing independently, but often we're doing lots of group work, so the students are sitting in small groups,
Yeah.
working in groups, and each group might have a particular task, and the task that they're working on might be one that they've chosen from a menu of choices,
Yeah.
and that is to help us go deeper and have a greater coverage in the material that we're trying to learn.
And whenever we work in groups, it's not really like this group has to work on this thing, they can't talk to anyone else. Sometimes the groups intermingle and share ideas and things like that. So
It sounds like flexibility is
Oh,
probably
yeah.
one of the key words that you would use
time.
about the charter school.
big time.
Right? Kind of flexible in your studies, and then flexible in
Yep.
what's happening in the school. And what would be an ideal student to come to the charter school? That's
Yeah.
a hard question, I know, but I
Right.
mean,
I think it's not just the ideal student, but it's also the ideal parent. We've noticed that the students that we are getting and the parents who are involved are ones who care passionately about school and education and want to be involved, and that the students love to be challenged in a variety of ways, and are not looking to just sit down and fill out a worksheet. They want to be engaged. They want to do stuff that is very meaningful to them. And middle school students love to try to make a difference in the world. So the students who are willing to do projects and to work with others in a variety of ways would be, I think, an ideal student.
and you brought up parents. Is parent participation important at the charter school?
Parent participation is very important.
Oh,
We
yeah.
welcome the parents' involvement. Right now we have one parent who is helping us coordinate our student volunteer program. The students have to do 60 hours of community service in order to graduate high school, in order to graduate our middle school before they go on to high
60?
school.
So is
60.
it like
But
20 a year, or could it
But
be
the hours are divided. It's 20 hours of community service, going out there. Last year I worked at a home for the elderly. I played cards with this woman every day. It was pretty fun. She taught me a new
very
game. Also, there's this 20 hours of school service, which is helping the school, volunteering to help paint rooms or set up furniture, organize papers, stuff like that, anything. And then the last 20 hours is expedition service, which is really what the big question is that we mentioned earlier. That's the teacher's responsibility to go out but they're not called field trips at our school, they're called field work, because we never really go on a trip, just for fun. There's always some work involved in it. So we go out on field work, and it's the teachers who make sure that we go on at least 20 hours of field work. But the other two are our responsibility. But it's not really that difficult. It's, the school provides ideas for things you can do for community service, but if you're already doing a community service prior to coming to the school, or if you've got something that you can do that's not on the list, you can do it, as long as it benefits the community at large.
And in addition to the community service, the students will have to meet certain standards in order to be promoted, and in order to be graduating from our school, they'll have to meet these standards, and it'll be all collected and documented in their portfolio, which we'll then send on to the high school that they go to, so that they could see samples of the students' work in addition to their standardized test score results.
Okay. And the kids would go to any high school they wanted to go to, basically?
Absolutely.
Anyone?
Framingham, Keith, or even maybe a private high school if they
Yes.
wanted to go on?
Yes.
It's cool. I think you need to have your own show. We talked about this earlier. You're very flexible
Thank
and
you.
very good with answering questions, Mike. Just want
Thanks.
to put that out there. Just so parents, parents, I know it's not like if your parents don't participate, you can't come. I'm not trying to say that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
But it's that key
Right.
piece about parents really are what
Right.
helps drive it.
And we also work with the parents to find ways that they can be involved. So one year I was teaching a group of students, and I had parents who could not physically come into the classroom to help out. So what we did is we arranged for them to read the same book that the students were reading, and then they served as online book buddies. So the students would work in small groups talking about this book and then write letters to this particular parent who was also reading the book, and they would have an online discussion back and forth, which is a great way to provide the opportunity for the parent to be involved even though they are not able to physically come to the school. We also have parents who are working on committees, the school council, and they meet in the late afternoon, early evening. So there are ways that they can be involved,
Okay. So,
but it's not mandatory.
so that should never throw off kids who want to apply if their parents can't get there, or they just need to get the application.
Correct.
in. And then I know at the end of the show we're going to give the phone number and somebody to call to get information, but they can then go in and have a tour. And
Absolutely, we would welcome that. We find that once they see the teaching and learning in process and in action, they realize this is different, and this is the kind of place that my child can excel.
so it would be better to do it now too, because classes are in session and the parent and child could just kind
Yes.
of take an afternoon
Yes.
or a morning or something and go over and
Absolutely.
literally sit in the class and listen. And
Right, and they could be involved in the activities, or they could just observe if they want. But again, they should arrange that so that they know for sure that we are actually going to be there and not off on a field work.
now you said now the other schools. Now you just have to say something that Mike here said. Other schools go on field trips to have fun, but we always have to work.
Well, no, it's not.
Fix that one, will you?
Okay,
Fix that
it's
one.
not always work, but it's never just a pleasure trip. There's a pleasure thing involved, but
I understand. I just want you
Yeah.
to say it.
yeah, it's the work that we do. It's not just we go on the trip to work or to play. It's both.
Right.
Like we go to a fun place so that we can learn, but we also learn in a fun, exciting way. That's not just
Right.
sort
It
of
would be like-
walking around and writing stuff
It would
down.
be like going to Six Flags.
Yeah,
Going
to
on
learn about
rides,
gravity.
But learning about gravity and
Yeah.
how the rides go.
Physics, yeah.
So you don't, in learning, right, physics. thank
Or
you.
going to
I don't know much.
going to Six Flags and going behind the scenes to find out how a big operation like Six Flags runs.
Okay.
And then applying that knowledge back to
Yeah.
what you're learning in class.
And to that big question.
Right.
Kind of like how do you fit? What's the question that you guys are working on this year?
What am I?
What am I?
Oh, that is this
Yes,
year. I'm
that's
sorry.
this
I
year.
thought that was
And-
last year.
And last year, our question was, what is an adventure?
Okay.
So they had to come up with a way of evaluating the quality of an adventure, come up with a way with providing an opportunity for people to have adventure. That's where the adventure course came in, as well as looking at literature. They read Treasure Island. They had also written their own adventure story, which was about 10 to 20 pages typewritten,
Wow.
and it had to have certain elements so that it would be an adventure story.
Wow. What would you suggest, or what advice would you give to a fifth grader this year? And I know any age kid, so maybe for any age kid, what advice would you give to them about the charter school? And
I gotta say the student body is incredibly nice at my school.
Okay.
Basically everyone knows everybody, and there's groups of people who hang out with each other, but everyone says hi to each other in the halls and stuff, and it's very tightly knit. Everyone is quite nice to people, and if you're a new student, usually lots of people try to help you out. One of my friends, Scott Holt, just came to the school, and he's he knew no one, and now everyone says hi to him, and so being a new student isn't necessarily a bad thing.
And
People will pay attention to you.
And one of the things that helps to support that kind of culture in our school is the opportunity for students to have a daily time to meet in a small group with an adult in the building that knows them really well. We call this crew time. It comes from our philosophy that we are crew, not passenger, that everyone is involved in trying to work together. Okay. And in most schools you have homeroom, but for us it's not just taking attendance, it's talking with the students about issues relating to what they're studying, talking to them about issues that are coming down the line for them, and working with the students on getting to know each other. Yeah. And then that carries over into their regular classes because they're in a crew with students from their own class. Each crew has about 10 to 11 students, but I would say that at our school we're really big on the personal relationship between the students and teacher, as well as the relationship between teachers and parents. We're all looking at working together in collaboration.
so everybody's in the crew.
Right.
Actually, everybody's in the crew.
Yeah.
Okay. What advice would you give to a student or?
If you don't fit in as well as you used to in your other school, you will never be excluded in our school. Everyone, as Mike said, is really tight. Like, you make friends really fast. So sooner or later, you'll have tons of friends.
And the teachers are very nice, and they don't pick favorites. You know, everyone is equal as far as the teachers are concerned.
I think that's really important that you guys have shared that piece, because there's probably some kids that are, you know, a little nervous about trying to go into a new place and what'll happen. And it sounds like charter school is very welcoming and really kind of, you know, I want to say, you know, hugging, but you know, that's not a word, but you know, but there's just this feeling that you're going to be taken care of, and the teachers are very
And one of our design principles for our school, which is a design principle, is our core belief. One of them is diversity and inclusivity. So we've got a range of students, both ethnically and from where they are coming from in terms of what town, and their abilities as well. And we work with them in all classes.
That's great. That's so awesome. We're going to put up at the end of the broadcast the name, you know, the Framingham Community Charter School, but we'll have the address and a phone number.
That'd be great.
Everybody's information's been flashing, so I think that, you know, maybe you'll get some phone calls, Robert, about, you know.
I would welcome that, and when I'm not teaching, I would be available to give any parent who visits our school a personal tour and be able to sit down with them and take the time to go over any questions that they have if they want to learn more about the school.
Great. Well, I want to thank you. I'm gonna you still be here. I just have to say a couple of things to the TV for a second. So, thank you very much. I'm glad all of you were here. I appreciate it.
It was fun.
And thanks. And we'll do it again. We'll do it again. Maybe at the end of the year when we can see some project stuff. How would that be?
Oh,
I think that would be great.
Yeah. I think we could fit our whole class in here. We could have a
We maybe
big
could. We
class-wide
couldn't mic
thing.
them all though, but we could fit most of them here. Again, I'm Mary McCloy-Warner with the Community Connections, and we do have a couple of events coming up. We do candidate night forums. We have one coming up on October 27th. Tomorrow is the last day to vote, register to vote rather, and although you won't get this until next week, please remember to vote November 2nd. You can call the town clerk to find out where your precinct is and where to vote. But we will be doing a candidates night October 27th at Woodrow Wilson School, which is 169 Leland Street in Framingham. We meet at 6:30, kind of have a coffee, meet the candidates night, and then at 7 o'clock the forum will begin. And we have the three different groups that are running, the Senate and then 2 state reps, I believe Middlesex District 6 and Middlesex District 7. So that would be one event. The other event that's coming up, which is really important, we're always looking for folks to come to, is the Community Connections Action Team meeting, which we meet the 3rd Wednesday of every month. We meet again at Woodrow Wilson during the school year, and in the summer we kind of float. We become a traveling meeting. So that would be this coming Wednesday night. The 20th, we meet again at Woodrow Wilson at 6 o'clock. We have supper and we have childcare. Both are free. We invite all parents to come, or family members or our neighborhood members, residents. We really encourage everybody to come and be part of this process. Community Connections really is about trying to get people hooked up and connected with each other with whatever services they need in the community. So I look forward to meeting some of you. Again, don't forget, give the charter school a call because they have lots of good information out there. Thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you again. Keep connected out there.